There is a fifth dimension, beyond that which is known to man. It is a dimension as vast as space and as timeless as infinity. It is the middle ground between light and shadow, between science and superstition, and it lies between the pit of man's fears and the summit of his knowledge. This is the dimension of imagination. It is an area which we call the Twilight Zone.
Welcome to the Reality Check. Welcome to the Reality Check. Your host, Ben Shannerman. As you can see, we are at the home studios today. Very interesting indeed, yes. Home studios. So much you can see here. So if you don't know why it looks wild in the background, is this is actually my work office as well. And it's where I do all my work projects. If you don't know what I do for a living, I've probably mentioned it a few times before. But what I do is I buy and resell stuff. Not only like storage auctions that you see on TV, wherever I can find stuff. Any place is a workplace and an opportunity to make money, of course. So it lets me be flexible. You don't always there. You don't earn set income, obviously, but I can be flexible and at least help out and be there for my kids when they need something, whether it's pick up, bring to, or whatnot. So, like I said, this is the home office. Now, what we have here, the idea that you have protected from any kind of emotion is one that I absolutely do not subscribe to. If people can't control their emotions, then they have to start by trying to control other people's behaviors. And when you're around super sensitive people, you can't relax or be spontaneous because you have no idea what's going to upset them next. That's why I've always warned recently, do not go to university campuses because political correctness has gone from being a good idea to the point where any criticism of any individual or group can be labeled as cruel. Said by none other than John Cleese. Yes, John Cleese, better known Monty Python and known by others as Basil Fawlty from the Fawlty Towers, which he actually wrote with his wife himself. So, good old Fawlty Towers there and Basil. Now, the next thing, we have the Iranian protests, very big on people's minds and whatnot. And in 2009, when Barack Obama was hell-bent on an alliance with the mullahs, he shamefully betrayed the Iranians who rose up. He expected to be supported us, and as Obama preached equal rights, the Trump's administration response, of course, is different. But one wonders, why are Iranians rebelling now? Now, why are they rebelling now? Many people have their different reasons, of course. If you listen to CNN, it'll be different from what you hear other places, but everybody knows with them. Certainly, they have their economic grievances, but are these really new? What has happened recently to explain the current uprising? As they were misinformed in 2009 that Obama would help, if not on the ground, then help them with his words. Which, when millions of Iranians took to the streets in June of 2009, when they demanded freedom from a cruel regime that threatens the world, when they cried out, "Is you with us, or are you with them?" In the very first days of the Iranian protests, Obama did not weigh publicly. After more and more images of violence surfaces, he condemned the actions of the Iranian government and later toughened his talk. As why he condemned the actions of the Iranian government and later toughened his talk, we asked why he did that. And the thing is that he condemned the actions of the Iranian government, like I said, and he would not spell out the potential consequences, though, for the behavior. So he really didn't, he didn't give them any punishment or any reason to see that something could be wrong. So they went on and did their thing. But because I think that we know, how this thing was going to play out, Obama had said. He wasn't sure it was going to play out, so that's why he didn't punish them. I know everybody here is on a 24-hour news cycle. I'm not, Obama said. His silence validated the mullahs, though. Despite the blood on their hands and the nuclear centrifuges in their tunnels, later, as we know, Obama funded and helped speed up the nuclear capability of Iran. Will Trump do better? We hope so. This is our chance to stop a lot of the terror around the world. You want to know what the people of Iran are protesting about? Well, I mean, besides Iran being a designated state sponsor of terrorism since '84, Iran's funded terror-related activity, including Hezbollah, the Palestinian terror group in Gaza, and various groups in Syria, Iraq, throughout the Middle East. Iran used the Islamic Revolutionary Guard, their core quds force, to implement foreign policy goals, provide cover for intelligence operations, and create instability in the Middle East. Iranians want a better life for themselves and not to pay for the pensions of terrorists. Unfortunately, that is what a lot of the time the people of Iran are doing. Their money, they're working hard and being taxed, I'm sure, to the brim, and they're paying for terrorists to have pensions. And that's pretty much what I see as their biggest reason to protest. Obviously not in simple terms of, do you want terrorists to have pensions? No, of course not. But they want their money. They want their money to be given to them, to be used for their lives. They want their lives to be better, and they don't want to worry about terrorist lives being better. That's unfortunately what you see here is the terrorist lives. They're making the money. They're the ones getting the better life off the backs of these people. Now we can talk about the media's fake headlines. Today I heard at least one or two news sources pretty much say Trump accuses Huma Abedin of forwarding sensitive emails. Now that's false. He didn't accuse her of sending sensitive emails. The actual fact is Huma Abedin sent classified passwords through a Yahoo. That's right, Yahoo, like everybody else has, account. Email, a Yahoo email account, or the equivalent of Hotmail, anything you want to say like that. She sent passwords to sensitive, top classified places. She sent emails. Also, she sent emails to a computer that her husband had access to, Anthony Weiner. We all know him, Mr. I'm in jail and still has computer access. I'm sure he responded to half the emails by asking what age you are and do you have any naked pics. But that being said of the fact, Trump didn't accuse Huma Abedin. He actually was stating a fact that Huma Abedin sent passwords and classified emails to a Yahoo account and to a computer that her husband had access. Both are illegal. Both are crimes. And if you look at how many people in military classified jobs are in jail, they're in jail for way less. So, sadly, you have the news reporting a false thing. Huma Abedin forwarded sensitive State Department emails, including passwords to the government systems, through her personal Yahoo email account. And every single Yahoo email account was hacked. Abedin, the top aide to former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, used her insecure personal email to provide and conduct sensitive work. This guarantees that an account with high-level correspondence in Clinton's State Department was impacted by one or more of a series of breaches, at least one of which was perpetrated by the state-sponsored actor. Now, we had all of Hillary Clinton's breaches and stuff they did, and they're fake. They said the Russians hacked them over here, and what you're learning is how bad these people were, how hideous these people were. Sending stuff through Yahoo is ridiculous and embarrassing. And even a minor league person who's at the minorest clearance level, nothing even compared to what these people are, know that you can't do that stuff. And they all pay for that stuff. You know, they say Russian intelligence did this. It doesn't need to be Russian intelligence. It could have been anybody. Some teenage kid could have hacked into your Yahoo account. And we had plans and whatnot that were, pretty much put at risk. Soldiers, people that worked in the government put at risk. We had a longtime Clinton aide confidant, Sid Blumenthal, sent Clinton an email in July 2009 with the subject line, important, not for circulation, you only. The message began confidential. Abedin forwarded that email to her Yahoo address, making it visible to anybody that could have hacked into that. What else can we say about that? Well, we could say much more about that. But so as the thing is two separate laws of justice, Huma Abedin still not in jail, Hillary Clinton still not in jail, and any normal, even a soldier at that point, would have been put in jail. Now, the question from this you have to ask is, we already know that Huma Abedin has violated the law and should be put in jail. No question about it. For how long, that's debatable. She should get a trial, but we already know she violated the law. So Trump didn't accuse her of anything. The news reports say that stuff to lie. All you hear is Trump accuse this person. No, the facts are already out. This is what she did. He didn't need to make the accusation. It's already proven. But what we have to ask is, and I know people hate this, is was Ambassador Stevens betrayed? Was the first U.S. ambassador killed in the line of duty since 1979? Did Chris Stevens know his urgent life or death communication, secret messages detailing his location, and emergency escape routes were all being read by someone with deep ties to, as some people say, Al-Qaeda and the Muslim Brotherhood? Now, supposedly, Huma has family members in the Muslim Brotherhood. But irrelevant to that, how did the Benghazi attackers know Stevens would be at the consulate on September 11th, 2012? Did they have his itinerary in advance? Because it wasn't the spontaneous bull story that we heard from Obama and Clinton and John Kerry and the rest of these clowns. Were they told that the consulate was unprotected and they could set up an assault on Stevens? Were they told, or did they read it? It was all out there. So it's a good way if you wanted to hide something. Oops, I didn't know who read this information. We know this. There were 600 security requests that somehow Hillary Clinton said never reached her desk. Now, with her credibility being shot and Hillary Clinton being such a liar, we don't know what is true or what's false on that. Did she get them and turn them down? Or did they never reach her desk? And then the question you have to ask is, if you do believe Hillary Clinton, then they reached Huma Abedin's desk. So did she just send them to her own emails so people could see them? Who knows what the truth is? But I bet you that it's somewhere in the middle of there. Either Hillary knew, or Huma knew, or they both knew. That's the million-dollar question. Now, we don't know who it is. So now that we've changed formats, by the way, everyone knows that I am not at the radio station, that I am doing the show from my house, my home studio. And, of course, we'll work on getting some more features and whatnot, but we got to start somewhere. We start at the basics, but feel free on the Facebook Live. You can ask some questions. I'll see if I can answer them. And also, if you have any questions throughout the week or whatnot, you can always email me at the realitycheck@usa.com. You can always hit me up on Facebook, and I will actually put all the videos on YouTube, and we will send them out. Now, so 2017, the first year we had Trump. People don't like Trump, but it's the people who always say give peace a chance, right? Those same people never gave Trump a chance. They talk about peace, they talk about giving peace a chance, but they can't give Trump a chance. You know, that's what that is. But I will say this, there are things that he accomplished, and some you might like, some you might not like, but we can go over them. For instance, tariffs on Canadian wood coming in here. We have our own wood. That'll be better for our jobs. We have plenty of it. So the Canadians were taxed at a 7% rate. So sometimes their wood was cheaper than ours. And Trump raised up to a 24% rate to give our lumber yards and American lumber a fair chance. We got out of the TPP trade, Trans-Pacific Trade Partnership. Thank goodness, because all it is us carrying the backs of countries who can't carry their own back. Consumer confidence at an all-time high since the year 2000. That's a really good thing. I mean, a lot of things like the stock market are based on confidence. So it's very important that people have the highest confidence they've had in such a long time. We pulled out of the Paris false global warming, which is great because even if you believe in global warming, and obviously you've seen that these people that committed this fraud, back in the 70s, they talked about global cooling. And now it was global warming. And that's been thrown away, and now it's climate change. Now, I mean, that's like saying the weather's going to be different every day you walk outside. Unless you live here in sunny Arizona, yes, that is the case almost anywhere you live. We pulled out of that Paris Climate Accord, which was great because we were the ones funding most of it. And other countries were getting to do what they wanted to. And we paid for it all. So that's just, it's worthless. Why should we pay for everybody else? That's the problem here, is we want all these great things. We're going to do this, we're going to do that. And it's America paying for everything and other countries just doing what they want. That's kind of like the UN. We pay for the shindig and they tell us how degenerized we are. And as women are getting stoned to death for crossing the wrong side of the street in other countries, and they're called leaders of women's rights, we're getting yelled at, persecuted, and insulted and paying for the privilege to top it off. It's a ridiculous waste of time. Keystone Pipeline finally got approved, which is a good deal. You know what? Hopefully we get these lower gas prices once this starts flowing. Trump got our NATO allies to actually boost spending by 4.3%, which was great because Trump at least made something happen, whereas Obama got no more spending from other countries. He's allowing the Veterans Affairs Committee to terminate bad employees, which is great, and especially people in Arizona know that live out here, that the Veterans Affairs in Arizona were horrible. This was the epicenter of where it all started, where veterans were dying instead of receiving health care, and all these guys were worried about were donations of this and what can we get. And then they replaced one person who couldn't do their job with another person. They took the worst person in this part of America and brought her to Phoenix to replace. We already had the worst care. You figure that this is the worst place it was. This was the epicenter of it all. You'd at least bring somebody qualified in to fix the mess. No. Allowing private health care choices for veterans. That's another thing that Trump got on board. And even John McShane didn't argue with that one. It's better for the soldiers, to have choices. I should say the veterans. They should have choices to where they can go. If your local VA can't help you, then you should be able to go somewhere else that can. Instead of having to wait till they see them, it's their need. If you're in a place that doesn't have a VA near you, you can go somewhere else and get treatment in a reasonable amount of time. You can get treated at least better than a dog on the side of the street. It would be nice because you see some people come here and just get health care right off the bat no matter what they do, and other people who served our country have to wait not only in line but in the back of the line. So that's it. Medium household income rise, 7-year high. Stock market all-time high. China agreed to import American beef. I'm sure you never heard that on the news, but so that's big for the beef in this country. $89 billion saved in regulation rollbacks. Rollbacks on the regulations of coal mining is another thing that Trump got done. So now coal mining can get back in. Better, lower power for America. ISIS, of course, you've heard, literally almost destroyed to the core. Less than 10% left of the land they once had. And without land, they don't have much power. It's harder for them. I mean, they'll still recruit online and do all that stuff, but it takes away a lot of their power. When they have a bigger land and they're winning, then people want to get on that team. When you're especially in an area and these guys are coming in and tell you, you join us, you join ISIS or you're dead, and they control everything, you're going to just agree to it because you want to be on that right side. You don't want to take the chance. But now that they're getting pushed back and downsized, it makes the world a better place. Travel bans reinstated to protect Americans. It's funny how many courts have turned down the travel ban, but Obama had the same travel ban and nobody said a word about it. Executive orders for religious freedom. Trump also jump-started NASA. Remember, pretty much Obama shut most of it down. I mean, we were getting ready to hitch rides in Russian spacecrafts. $600 million cut from the U.S. peacekeeping budget, which is a $600 million savings because the UN doesn't do much peacekeeping. I mean, most of that is just wasted. You look at the buildings they have around the world, all the money they waste. Trump, and at least the one thing that Jeff Sessions has actually done, targeted the MS-13 gangs, as many of them as we can get out of America and rounded up and put in jails or kicked out of the country. That's a bonus for everybody. I don't know how anybody could disagree with that. You also have deporting violent illegal immigrants. Now, if we could just get rid of all the ones in our jails and get them out of the country, and we need some kind of protection, the wall. And of course, we have technology with the wall to enforce that these people don't get back in. Then we can talk about it. You can't talk about any DACA program or any of this other stuff if we don't have a way to stop this. They talk with DACA about how these people had no choice. They're here. And that's okay. I get that. But one, their parents, basically violated the law. And two, how do we stop this from happening again? This was the same thing when Ronald Reagan was the president. We, did the same thing. Unfortunately, we let amnesty pretty much go, and we had they said this was coming later, the border wall and security is coming later, and it's never come. It's 30 years later. You know what? And we still are ending up in the same thing. So yes, some of this problem is our fault, but you know what? Hopefully, with building the wall, we can stop that. So one of the big things, and that's Trump's agenda this year, I know, but he started it last year, was he created a commission on child trafficking. He actually signed legislation to seize assets from child traffickers. So if you're a known person, even if you're not in this country, he will grab all your assets that he can. And that's pretty much one, is going to stop a lot of people from getting into that business. And two, it'll cut down the activity of these people once they lose everything. He's created a commission, Trump, on voter fraud. Definitely needs to be looked at. I don't care whether you're on the left or the right. You shouldn't want people voting illegally. I mean, our soldiers die for the right for us to have the freedom to vote. And if you don't want to vote, you don't have to vote. But there shouldn't be people voting in your name. There shouldn't be dead people voting. We should want to have as much exactness and realistic elections as we can. And we can't have that when we have voter rolls that haven't been updated in 20 years. Some that are still handwritten in some counties. You just can't have that stuff. Trump has also created a commission for opioid addiction. So that's definitely something, that needs to be controlled. It's probably one of the biggest killers, yes, but even destruction of families in general. Trump's also given power to the states to drug test unemployment recipients, which I think is great. I think absolutely. Not only that, I wish Trump would actually, if there's one more he could sign, is to drug test the government. I think all these people who illegal substances are taking medication. It was scary. A report came out. It was about a month and a half ago about how many people in the Congress and Senate actually have medicine delivered to them for their Alzheimer's or kind of the similar types of deals that they have, illnesses that they have. And some of the time, some of these even doctors deliver people saying, these people don't even remember me or what I'm doing or who I am. And that's scary. These are people writing the law, creating the law, talking about enforcing the law. Lowest unemployment rate we've had since 2007. And the unemployment rate is not a good number as far as it's not very accurate. It doesn't count people who've already given up in that. But as we see those numbers will come out, it'll go down. Because at one point, like last year, there was literally 100 million people without jobs. And that's one thing that before wages go up, these jobs need to be filled. Those people need to be working. And then when people are working, the more things are creating, the more jobs are happening, the more spending's happening, then wages will start to go up. And that's what will really heal the country, more importantly than just getting people employed. Trump also created a Women in Entrepreneurship Act for those of people who say he hates women, even though he's surrounded by lots of women as far as in his office and stuff. He also created an office for illegal immigrant crime victims, so we can hear their stories, we can get some good data on it. Reversed the Dodd-Frank Act, which definitely takes away a lot of power from banks. He repealed the DOT, the Department of Transportation ruling, which would have taken power away from local governments for infrastructure planning. Yeah, that's good. And he ended the DACA program that we have now. And he wants to use it as a tool to negotiate. And hopefully, like Trump was saying, no negotiations really till the wall starts to take phase. Because like I said, the problem's never going to end if we don't have security. It's just like your house, you want to talk about getting a burglar alarm when you have no front door. It just doesn't make sense. He's put a hold on, I can't say he put a hold on it physically, but he's definitely helped stop some of the companies that wanted to move out of America with negotiations, with talking them, with showing them the repeal of regulations so they want to do business here. It's definitely promoted, to create American jobs. He's encouraged to cut 2 regulations for everyone that's signed in. So that's good. Because regulations, for the most part, are just a hamper on businesses. There are some things absolutely we need. We need health departments checking food and whatnot. But there are some things that, people shutting down your business for the difference of opinion, which makes no difference in any safety or whatnot. That stuff's got to stop. People that are running billion-dollar projects and they have to stop because there's a toad on the ground and that's the end of their project. Just silly stuff like that. We can't have that stuff. You move the toad, you move whatever it is, and you continue your work. Review of all trade agreements to make sure that America's first. Very important, obviously, because we know most of these agreements that have been signed in the past 20 years are basically we're begging somebody for something. We can make anything we need in America. We have the people, we have the resources, and we have the knowledge. So why aren't we doing that? Why are we signing agreements and letting people tell us, like China, when you bring your stuff into our country, we're going to tax you and you better leave our stuff really cheap. No. I say whatever country brings in any product, and whenever we bring product into their country, whatever they tax us, we tax us the same here, if not more. You know what? They need our product. We don't need theirs, and we don't need American businesses to be punished when we go to their countries. Yeah, they're going to be accepted bringing stuff into ours, and we'll bend over backwards for them at the point of punishing our own businesses. If there's one thing like the Postal Service, when people ship stuff from China to America, it's actually cheaper for them to do that than me shipping something from Arizona to New Jersey. It's cheaper because us as taxpayers, we fund that money so China can ship to us cheaply. There's no reason for that. We should all be on the same level playing field, as the liberals like to say. So definitely, Trump also started an apprentice program, so I'd like to see where that goes. That would be awesome. The national debt decreased by $102 billion in the first 7 months, and $78 billion was promised to be invested by major businesses like Exxon, Bayer, Apple, SoftBank, Toyota. Some now have added on, like Fifth Third, and some of the other companies have added on because of the tax cuts. That's even more. Now on to something else. We've talked about that long enough. So we have that the seltzer boy, right? Bernie Sanders. Here's a guy who talks about the poor, and he's one of you. Although he has 2 to 3 houses, over $1 million worth of houses that he owns. But he's just a poor guy like you. Senator Bernie Sanders, who sported a $700 coat. Now I know everybody else here has a $700 coat because you're just like Bernie Sanders, one of the people. I love it. This guy's one of the people. How many imbeciles still go around saying Bernie Sanders is one of the people? Bernie Sanders wore a $700 coat to give a speech, or I shouldn't say a speech, but he was at the swearing-in ceremony of Bill de Blasio, the corrupt mayor of New York. So Sanders, famous slandering the billionaire class. Why? Because he's pissed off because he's only in the millionaire class himself. De Blasio said that Bernie is a true son of Brooklyn. Sanders, who only receives money from the government hoppers. This guy gave up working jobs before he actually worked a job, if you know his history. And he's pretty much been in the government for over 50 years. Now, his wife, just as bad. Jane Sanders described herself when she was hired in 2004 as a turnaround president. She was hired by Burlington College. She orchestrated the college's move from a small, cramped campus to an expensive lakefront property in 2010. 5 years later, Jane Sanders left after significant board turnover and 3 college presidents. Burlington College and her vision collapsed under the crushing weight of debt. The land was 33 acres on the shore of Lake Champlain. Ironically, the diocese who they bought it from were selling the land because it was cash-strapped. This purchase was crazy would be the word, or insane, because their budget, the school's budget, was $4 million in general. So the plan was a big bet. They wanted to finance the deal. They issued tax-free bonds. They took $3.5 million loan from the diocese who they were buying the land from, and they received a $500,000 bridge loan from a wealthy local real estate developer named Tony Pomalu, who were close friends with the Sanders. So the land deal proved to be a white elephant. The school didn't increase its enrollment, really, but they barely had any more students than before, and now they've, quadrupled, even more than that, the size of their campus. Not enough to make up the difference, nor did the donations rise to remain solvent. So a great plan, just like her husband, spend, 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 no realization of any reality. But what else do you expect from Bernie Sanders and the crowd? Now, let's talk, we'll talk a little bit sports. Everyone knows, obviously, last week and UFC 219, I did the preview on my last show, and of course, we'll do the review on this show. But before that, obviously, big in sports is the NFL playoffs. Now, the playoff matchups are set, and I'll give you my Super Bowl prediction. Ready? Da-da-dum. Okay, it's going to be, hey, let me almost brush my hair for this, the Cleveland Browns. The Cleveland Browns will be the Super Bowl champs. Now, I know people are going to say the Browns didn't even make the playoffs. Now, the Browns self-identify as somebody who made the playoffs. They self-identify as a team who made the playoffs. So who are we to say they didn't win a game all season, right? If the Browns self-identify as a playoff team, I will pick them to win the Super Bowl. Now that junk and garbage is out, let's talk about the real playoffs. So you have in the AFC, you have Kansas City versus Tennessee. And Tennessee is shaky. Mariota doesn't look like himself. I think he was injured early in the year. Um, and it just Kansas City has somewhat come back to life. They have all the weapons, Hunt. They have the defense. I mean, the only weakness they have, in my estimation, is Andy Reid. I don't see him as an asset. He's a weakness. But that being said, I see Kansas City Chiefs beating Tennessee. Now, in the other AFC wild card, quote unquote, game, Jacksonville versus Buffalo. Now, Buffalo is just such an erratic team. Um, and, I mean, yeah, they have McCoy at running back, but I don't see where Buffalo beats Jacksonville. I think Jacksonville defense is the best asset in this game. And as they usually say, the best player on the field. Well, Jacksonville's defense is the best unit on this field. They can control that Buffalo offense. There's not a great quarterback there, obviously, that's going to, do anything to Jacksonville. I see Jacksonville's defense controlling this game. Blake Bortles can do enough, with Fournette running wild. And their problem is they have hurt receivers, Jacksonville, but I still see they'll have enough, even if they keep it simple with Fournette and, get some of their receivers involved. And the defense, the defense alone, if they show up and play their best, can win this game almost without an offense, as long as the offense doesn't make mistakes. So I see Jacksonville winning that game. So in the NFC, we have New Orleans and Carolina. Now that's such an intriguing matchup, and just it's going to be a really good game. That's kind of going to come down to who has the ball last. And who is that going to be that has the ball last? I have a feeling it's going to be New Orleans, and that's why I'll pick them to win the game. Because Drew Brees is Drew Brees. And they have a lot of weapons on offense with Kamara, with Ingram. Their offense is stacked. There are missing some players, but they have the weapons to score. And, Carolina definitely can, and they have a good team. They have a solid defense with Luke Kuechly. But I see New Orleans just winning this game. It's just one of those games you have to go by gut instinct. And Drew Brees is just going to make it happen. Rams Atlanta, very good matchup too. You have an Atlanta team who went to the Super Bowl last year, limped through the whole regular season and barely squeaked into the playoffs. Then you have a Rams team that is, they've had a few games where they didn't show up, but in general, they've run roughshod over a lot of other teams. And I see the Rams winning it. Just Atlanta's too inconsistent. Matt Ryan's not having as good year as he has last. Their offense is just kind of a shell of what it was last year. And just the Rams is a potent offense. Atlanta's defense is at best. I see the Rams winning that. So in the AFC, you're going to have KC versus New England. And I will see for that, of course, New England wins. It's as simple as not only Tom Brady being the quarterback of New England, but also Bill Belichick against Andy Reid. It's just too easy. New England's going to walk right over KC. And then you have Pittsburgh versus Jacksonville. Should be a tough game, but I think Pittsburgh, and especially if Antonio Brown comes back healthy, I see Pittsburgh winning that game. They just have, they have one of the best running backs in the game, one of the best wide receivers in the game. They have, a pretty good quarterback in Roethlisberger. They have good coach. They have a solid enough defense. I think they can put up points even against Jacksonville's defense. I see Pittsburgh winning that game. So that gives you Pittsburgh and New England in the AFC finals. For the NFC, New Orleans and Philadelphia, I just see New Orleans winning. Even though Philadelphia's defense is good, New Orleans is going to score enough points to win that game because Philadelphia with Foles shows you they have no offense. They literally, they don't look very good at all. So I thought Foles would actually be somewhat better. I know he wasn't going to be Carson Wentz and scramble like the way Wentz did and whatnot, but he's looked worse. He's regressed from he was before. I think part of that's the coach's fault. He's not letting him. I know he's going to get picked off if he throws and whatnot, if Foles tries to go deep, but you have to let him do that to least put some scare in the other team and you get a lucky play here or there. If you're going to sit back the whole game like they've done the past few weeks, they're going to score 6 points, 10 points. And you're telling me, no matter how good the Philly defense is, New Orleans and Drew Brees are finding a way to score more than 10 points. I'm sorry to tell you that. So we have Minnesota and the Rams in the other one, and I think that's going to be a good matchup, but the Minnesota defense wins out in the end, and Minnesota will go on and play New Orleans. So we have New England, Pittsburgh, which everyone wants to see again, and I see no difference in the outcome for New England, Pittsburgh. It's the same thing. It's New England just finds a way to beat Pittsburgh. As the last game they had, and Ben Roethlisberger made one mistake and threw that game away. And that's going to be the same thing. I'm not saying it's going to be him this time, but there's going to be that one mistake, whether it's on defense, whether it's on offense. And I think New England's going to have a stronger offense this time because Shazier isn't there now again, and New England will have more time to pick that apart. And they're just going to score more. New England beats Pittsburgh, and New England's going to the Super Bowl. And New Orleans and Minnesota we have. And I got to tell you, it's going to be a New Orleans win. I just think it is what it is. New Orleans going to find a way to win that. Minnesota, I like the running backs. They have good wide receivers, but the quarterbacks don't scare me. And I think it's just one mistake away, and you leave. You're not going to blow away New Orleans because you don't have a good enough quarterback in Minnesota. And by you leaving them that close, they're going to find a way to win that. So here we have in New Orleans, New England, Super Bowl. And I'm just going to say New England Patriots are going to win the Super Bowl again. I'm a Giants fan, so, no way do I want to say that. I guess I don't care. My team's getting a high draft pick. Unless we self-identify as a playoff team, the Giants are getting a high draft pick. But New England wins the Super Bowl. And I think it's just, in fact, with the matchup with them in New Orleans, they're just, Tom Brady and Drew Brees equalize each other. You got guys like Gronk who he didn't even play in the last Super Bowl. He's going to be big. Unless there's a key injury. I just see New England has too much. Peyton's a good coach, but Belichick's better. And that's just where they have the advantage. Their players play within the system they believe. They've seen the winning, so they continue to win. So you have for that, New England wins the Super Bowl. And I think a lot of it's just because a lot of these teams are banged up. New Orleans pretty banged up. The Rams lost Zerline. I think that's huge, and I think that's one of the reasons why the Rams won't advance too far. And Minnesota, Case Keenum's a nice story, but he's not winning the Super Bowl. And Pittsburgh is dinged up all over the place. That's Mariota's not himself. Tennessee had no chance, even though they had very little chance before. So it's New England Patriots, and that's what it is. And nothing else I can tell you about that. On to the UFC 219 review. Now, at the little party at my house, like always, we had fun. First fight of the night, as far as the main card. There were some good prelim fights, but as far as the main card, first fight was Carlos Condit, the natural born killer, versus Neil Magny. And of course, I saw a second round TKO for Carlos, and that not even close to happen. Magny ended up winning by decision. Two judges had a 30-27, and one had a 29-28. Now, Carlos he looked a lot slower than normal. I know he had a big layoff. Magny did a good job. Magny, who has Cardinal coaches, since they'll be having a new one, as Denny Green said, we are who they thought they were. And that's what Neil Magny was. He worked hard. He did what he was supposed to. He came out there and he kept on pushing the pace, and he looked himself. But Carlos just looked way slower than normal. He didn't have any big combinations like he normally does, where he's hit 5, 6, 7 hits. It was like 3 and kind of stop. He'd get in 3 good ones and kind of stop, and he just looked like he had no energy. And that was disheartening enough. But even more disheartening was Carlos's biggest weakness has always been getting taken down, and he just kept on getting taken down time after time. Here's a guy who has all the tools in Carlos Condit, and a simple thing like wrestling is not being taken care of or dressed. I don't get it. But so good for Neil Magny. He won by unanimous decision. Second fight was Symphony Calvillo versus Carla the Cookie Monster Esperanza. Now, in this fight, Calvillo was undefeated coming in. She was 6-0, and Carla was 13-4. Um, and Carla used to be the champ, and I had it as Calvillo a unanimous decision. It turned out early Calvillo was overwhelming Esperanza, and it looked like it wasn't even going to make it through the whole fight. But Esperanza being, the veteran she is, she hung in there, took Calvillo's best shots, and she kind of slowed it down near the end of the first round. And then she started to impose her will on Calvillo, and she took over the fight. She imposed her will as much as she could, and it was enough to win those last 2 rounds. So it was a unanimous decision for Esperanza on all 3 cards, 29-28. So good fight for her. Like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if it went either way, but it was Esperanza who won. That's actually who I was personally rooting for in the fight, but obviously I just try to pick it the way I see it. And obviously we know Jimmy Rivera-John Lineker fight was canceled because of Lineker's tooth infection. So they actually put up Mark Diakise and Dan Hooker, yes, Hooker, to fight. That was the 3rd fight they had on the night, and it was a decent fight. Hooker had a 3rd round submission, and it was definitely a good fight to watch. Good win for Hooker, and Mark's young. He'll learn from this. Fight after that, of course, Khabib versus Edson Barbosa. Khabib coming in 24 now, Edson Barbosa 19-4. And like I said, Barbosa is a precision striker. He's just fun to watch, Barbosa. He's explosive, he's aggressive, he's skilled everywhere. And let me tell you, as I saw that it was a 2nd round chokeout. That's what I had predicted for Khabib. But it ended up being a unanimous decision for Khabib. He totally dominated the fight. It was even crazier than I thought, though. It just showed to Barbosa that he actually stayed in that fight. He was getting beat up all over. Khabib kept on taking him down at will, time after time. He didn't let Barbosa breathe. Barbosa would, and that was like the 1st round where he started that. In the 2nd, and especially the 3rd round, Barbosa was actually hitting Khabib straight on. And Khabib just walked through it like nothing happened. He walks through these things and takes Barbosa down. You want to heel kick me? I'm going to walk through it and take you down. You punch me in your face? Great. I'll eat it with my face. I'm going to take you down. I don't know if that's the best strategy, but it did not phase Khabib at all. And he just totally dominated this fight. And he needs to fight against Ferguson for the title. The heck with this Conor McGregor clown. In 5 months, when he loses all his $100 million from blow prostitutes, buying 10 Lamborghinis, whatever, then he can come back to the UFC and he'll fight. But until then, and Khabib and Ferguson is going to be an awesome fight, and I cannot wait to see it. And word is out too. Word is born, Khabib's younger brother is ready to come to UFC too, and he does have 1 loss on his record, but he should be exciting to watch too. After that, main event: Chris Cyborg versus Holly Holm. Obviously, Cyborg 18-1. The only loss in her whole career was her 1st fight. It's been since 2008 that she didn't knock someone out that she was in the ring with. And so Cyborg was calm. She was calm. She did what she does the whole fight, but she was pretty aggressive. She hit with power. But the one thing I did learn about Cyborg, more to her respect, is this was the first time Holmes did a great job in the clinch of not getting taken down, not getting thrown up against the cage. She actually used her leverage and everything to keep Cyborg. She kept her against the cage, and she actually was pretty even with that, if not out grappling Cyborg standing up. And that was a great job by Holmes. That was good on that part of the game plan. But it was amazing. Cyborg actually stayed calm, didn't panic, still did her power shot, still did the same things she was doing that she was succeeding with. And it was a pretty much even trade-off, except for the fact that when Cyborg hits you, it's a lot harder than when Holmes hits you. And you saw the damage, you saw the pain that Holmes had, that her eye was messed up. Now Cyborg won, unanimous decision, so it was the first time in the UFC and in almost 10 years that Cyborg went the distance with someone, especially for a 5-round fight. So that was a really good job. That was progress from Holly Holm. That was better than their last few fights that we saw. That was like the girl who came out against Ronda Rousey. That was Holly Holm. But the one thing that really kind of was upsetting or disappointing was, I don't know if it was Holm not executing her game plan or her corner giving her a bad game plan. She was just doing the same thing over and over. Holm didn't change. It was the same combination. It was this way. It was one way. She didn't circle around the other way to not Cyborg's power. She didn't try to kick the other way. She didn't try to chop this leg out. It was the same leg kicks on one side, the same punches. She just didn't keep Cyborg honest, and Cyborg knew how to keep on pushing. And when you're trading even shots, you can't do that. You have to be better than Cyborg. So in that essence, it was kind of disappointing seeing Holm not very upper tax. It was like the same combo, the same side, the same way I saw it, the announcer saw it. But, Cyborg win, still champ, good for her. And, maybe Megan Anderson, I don't know. I don't have much faith in her being able to do better than Holm. I think Holm, that's something she can build on, and maybe they have a rematch. It would be worth seeing. But congratulations, Cyborg. She won that fight. That was pretty good for her. Obviously, pretty good for her financially, too. She got like $500,000. So, New Year's Eve, of course, crazy news stories you always see on New Year's Eve. And one that obviously a little bit surprising and weird was CNN. Now, we know CNN is back of the bus journalism, but they literally had a reporter on a pod bus in Colorado who was taking a hit from a joint on air. She was wearing what looked like to me was upside down marijuana leaf earrings. And then she had some guy put on a mask, one of those, gas masks, and they put the marijuana in it on the news. Where's the FCC? Where I don't understand. Where are the arrests? I mean, you can say it's legal there, it's illegal federally. And to broadcast that on a TV station, especially at night they knew where kids would be up and could be watching, that is outright just disgusting. If not, I mean, that's just classless journalism at its best. And that's why CNN has no respect. They're their own worst enemy in that case. Questions need to be asked of the James Comey. It's come out that James Comey sold $500,000 in PIMCO stock just 4 weeks after he was sworn in as the FBI chief, which is interesting because right after that time, PIMCO was under investigation by the SEC and the federal law enforcement. So what did Comey know, and when did he know it, right? The congressional probe has uncovered irregularities and contradictions in the basically the investigation into Hillary Clinton's emails. You know what? Obviously, it's totally. We knew the investigation was pre-rigged already. We've already found that out, but it's just only going to get worse when more comes out. Pretty much like that. The Palestinian Authority literally pays out pensions to families of terrorists. So Trump has talked about maybe cutting aid to Palestinians since they're no longer willing to even sit down at the table for peace. And I am definitely for that. I mean, that's, it says enough right there when you're saying the Palestinian Authority literally pays out pensions to terrorist families. Sorry to say. But I'm sure the mullahs in Iran today are hoping that their buddy Barry was back in office. And speaking of past, Orrin Hatch announced that he was going to retire today. And, really don't care much about that. He wasn't that good. He was okay. But I wonder how long it's going to take the media to talk about how great Mitt Romney is and how everybody's going to love Mitt Romney and how great Mitt Romney is. And he's going to run for Senate in Utah. I mean, personally, I know it's Utah and he's Mormon, and that's probably the only thing he has for him because, it's just, Mitt Romney has no credibility to anybody. Maybe he can run on a Democrat ticket. That'll be his best bet. But here's an interesting one. We all know Al Gore has a huge house that his electricity bill is, probably his electricity bill in 1 month is probably more than our mortgage payments all year. But he's a guy who claims that the ocean level is going to rise. Good old Al Gore. So what does he do? He has a mansion next to the ocean. So why would that be? Why would a guy who has a mansion next to an ocean, when he says the ocean levels are going to rise and kill us? And it's pretty much supposed to happen really soon. It's kind of interesting. Does not follow his own advice, guy. Would that be what Al Gore is? I'm thinking so. What else do we expect from Al Gore? The fake scientist, the guy who managed a C, right? A C in science in high school, and yet he's telling us about global warming. And then, let's see. The signs in California, I don't know if anybody's seen them, but so they have the Welcome to California sign, and underneath it, somebody must have had a bunch of money to do this. I mean, pretty crazy. But underneath it, somebody put official sanctuary state, felons, illegals, and MS-13 welcome. Democrats need the votes. That's pretty funny. At first, when I was looking at that story, I was like, wow, Jerry Brown's really gone too far this time. But, hey, that's what it is. So what is it? 2018 now. We have to get right what we messed up in 2017. Try not to hurt anybody. Never forget our lives have expiration dates. That's our goal for 2018. Linda Sarsour, I'm sure a lot of people know who she is, especially if you're from New York. She's she's sued many a times. She's been involved suing the police in New York to get them to stop surveillance on terrorists and whatnot. It's funny. She's supposed to be the leader, or a leader, or the responsible party for the Women's March, women's rights, Muslim women's rights. And she's nowhere to be found in Tehran. People have offered to pay for her to a full flight to go, and she wants no part of it. Whereas Linda Sarsour, it's easy to talk, but she cares about the rights of Muslim women, just not when they're in Muslim countries. Is that it? So remember, Pelosi said for this year, tax cuts are going to kill us. Do we have a better chance of dying from A, tax cuts, or B, sanctuary cities? Now, the real sad part of this is that this genius will get reelected, of course, by the anti-American communists. Pretty sad. But sanctuary cities kill a lot more than tax cuts. I hate to tell you about that. Another thing to remember on our buddy Hillary Clinton, when she was 27 years old, she was a staff attorney for the White House Judiciary Committee during the Watergate investigation. And she was fired by a fellow Democrat, Jerry Zeifman. When asked why Hillary Clinton was fired, Jerry said in an interview, because she was a liar. She was unethical, dishonest lawyer. She conspired to violate the Constitution, the rules of the House, the rules of the committee, and the rules of confidentiality. So I ask, what is different between Hillary Clinton then and Hillary Clinton now? And guess what the answer is? She's not a lawyer anymore. But everything else is true. Once again, my name is Ben Shanneman, host of the Reality Check. You guys have a safe weekend. We'll be back next week at the home studio again in Mesa, Arizona. Have a safe and fun week.